Hey guys, how you doing? It's Sunday night, so that's another episode of the M Cluster. I'm Slider, I'm your host, and with me tonight we have Brandon
Hi guys.
and we have Dante.
Hey, yeah, it's me again.
So tonight we are discussing the Will Smith movie Seven Pounds, and this is Dante's pick. So we're going to go ahead and let him do the lead-in.
Hey, everybody. Okay, yeah, so 7 Pounds. It is a movie directed by Gabriele Muccino, who also directed Pursuit of Happiness. And you can definitely tell it's directed by the same person, even though I didn't know it when I first saw him. There's a very similar style and feel to both of them. And it's one of Will Smith's most dramatic, serious roles, and it's very emotional. Um, in this film, it's very mysterious. And if you haven't seen it yet, watch this a little later and watch it first. Because what I really liked about it was when I first started watching it, I was like, what is going on? And I just was so curious, had no idea, and it's just like kept me mentally on the edge of my seat, which was really weird because I was also a little bored half the time, but I couldn't turn it off because I wanted to know. and but it's a very emotional movie, and now I'm going to get into spoilers. So they one thing like the sorry, losing track. Will Smith is basically going through this period of time where he's trying to help others, and you find out by the end of the movie that he's actually giving away pieces of himself and culminating in giving his heart away. Which he kills himself to make sure he can do that, and he wants to make sure that he's giving everything away to good people, people who deserve it. And it's just a very, it's a wonderfully beautiful and slow-paced movie. It's beautifully paced, and it's not too fast, and it's just very, it just keeps drawing you into the next section. In my opinion, I really liked, the way it was, just the way it flowed.
All right, Brandon, what was your take on the film?
I caught on kind of early on what was going to happen, even though I was hoping it wouldn't. Um, I mean, obviously it did, with the jellyfish at the end, but overall it was an extremely sad movie. I mean, the way it was directed and with the actors, the way they play their characters, you really feel for all of them. Although when Will Smith started yelling at
Ezra.
Woody Harrelson's character Ezra, I was like, "What the hell is going on? Why is he freaking out on this guy?"
And that's right in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, and like it was like a complete switch like of character mode. I was like, I couldn't figure out what was going on at that point. But later on, obviously, I understood it. He didn't want someone who was quick to anger, because he not only, if I, he gave his corneas to him, and a lot of money as well. Um, he gave his bone marrow to a child. He gave his lungs to his brother. He gave his kidneys. I can't remember who he gave it.
Social worker.
Social worker. He helped he gave his house to a woman who was being beaten up by her husband, or not her husband. I'm sorry, boyfriend. Uh, and all of those things correlate to the amount of people who died in the car accident. Um, but all of the characters that he helped out, you felt something for. Mostly, it was Emily, because he started to fall in love with her, and that's when I was starting to hope that he wouldn't commit suicide.
Even he felt that way, when he had to make that decision, like when he ran in the rain to trying to run it, avoiding his brother, which that was a little weird, by the way. He went over to the hospital, like, what are the chances? Like, you could tell he didn't want to do it. He was just hoping that he could live to be with her, but then if he did live, she wouldn't, so he made that choice.
Yeah, and it was just extremely sad. And I felt bad for for his friend that he was like forcing to help him commit suicide. I mean, it's shitty, but at the same time, it's like as his friend, like I don't know, it was confusing. If my friend were wanting me to help him commit suicide, I'd be like, no, dude, I'm not helping you kill yourself. Um, it was parts of it were kind of shitty, but at the same time, like I said, it was just an overall sad story. It sounds a little gay, but this is honestly one of the probably 2 or 3 movies that out of all the movies that I've ever watched that actually brought tears to my eyes.
Oh wow.
Well, and when you're talking about his friend, I mean that's a true measure of friendship right there. I mean, he was going to do it whether he wanted, his friend wanted him to or not, and so that he stuck by him like that. That's was number one, very difficult. But I mean, he knew what he was doing the entire time, and went through with it, even though it wasn't something he wanted. Now, it's interesting to hear you guys talking about it because I've seen this movie before this week, but I have a bad habit of watching movies when I'm tired and I fall asleep. So I knew what happens at the end of the movie, and I even when I was talking to Dante about it, I was like, "Hey Dante, is this the eyeball movie?" Is what I called it.
Nice.
And so having awareness of what happens at the end, and then rewatching this movie that I really didn't remember, kind of ruined it for me. I mean, just at the very beginning of the movie, I had the same reaction you guys. It's like, oh man, what a dick. But when he's going through and talking to these people, there's this part of it's like, man, this is really messed up that he's doing this to these people, even though he plans on helping them. So it was a very different way of seeing the story, and also having done the reading, I was looking at it from the standpoint of the director, Gabriel Muccino, and he talks about it being a love story. And because I didn't remember exactly what happened in the film, I'm thinking, oh, he's so tortured over losing his wife that he's doing this. And in the end, I don't think that was the case. I think what it was he was guilty over the loss of life that occurred during the accident, not just his wife.
Well, it wasn't his wife yet. It was his fiance.
They weren't. I didn't know they weren't married, or I didn't remember. But
Oh yeah, because there was a big old ring. Like yeah, she's like, oh, stop looking at that ring, or I paid extra for the kind that didn't crack. So.
Right. So and we were actually having this discussion just before the movie. This is kind of where I believe the title of the film comes in. 7 pounds. He's extracting a pound of flesh for each person that was killed in that accident.
Yeah.
And it was just a very, very different viewing experience for me, because again, for going in the very beginning, I knew what was going to happen. I knew he was going to die. I knew he was going to give his organs away to these people, and just watching him test them to see if they were good people was just like, oh man, what an asshole! Why would you put someone through that? And then in the end, he falls in love with Rosario Dawson's character, Emily, and I'm looking at it again. I'm still watching it from this point of view that it's a love story about him losing his fiancée. And it's like, well, in the course of doing this, he falls in love with somebody else? That's kind of screwed up.
Yeah, I didn't see it from that point of view. I mean, I knew he had his fiancée, and but I knew that he was just so distraught, not only over that, but just the fact that he was the only one who survived out of all of those
survivor's guilt. That's definitely a big one.
Well, yeah, and that was kind of what I was getting at with the whole, the 7 pounds of flesh. But like even the way he treated his brother when his brother was when his brother asked him the question, "Hey, did you accidentally take something that you shouldn't have?" And his answer was, "No, but I distinctly remember giving you something. I remember that really clearly." It's like, wow, that's kind of a fucked up thing to say.
And at that moment, you don't even know. Like, I wonder what he gave him that he could just lord over him so easily and effectively.
And that was your perspective. I knew what he gave him.
Yeah.
You know, so it changed my experience. So it's definitely a movie that you want to go into with as little information as possible. So I
Which is
hope if you
why I
haven't.
started it
Well,
off
yeah,
the way
no,
I did. It's like, stop watching this and watch the movie.
I caught on to it because he's like, "Are you smoking again?" So it's
Well,
like,
you know, when he said that, I actually thought he was on drugs.
Yeah, I was
oh, yeah, so
thinking
I
that's
didn't,
what it
I didn't
was
get that.
too, because he said I gained 10 pounds, and he's a pretty thin guy. So,
Like, yeah,
I
when I
mean,
heard that, I was like, I was just thinking, lung cancer.
really? Yeah, I was thinking Coke.
Well, well, different perspectives from the smokers and the non-smokers.
So,
Which, again, I commend you for quitting.
oh, you quit? Congrats.
You knew that, didn't you?
Honestly, didn't we go over that?
Well, I have a short-term memory, I guess. Memento, you know.
But going into just the performances in this film, great acting. And
Oh my God, yes. Like, my favorite thing, sorry to interrupt you, but I want to make sure I can say something so you don't steal whatever I was going to say. When he went to go see the guy who was, I don't know if he was head of the hospital or director or whatever,
Yes.
and Stuart Goodman. And he was actually, he saw him interacting with the old lady and then had the meeting, and he was actually talking about, like, when they're having the meeting, he's like, oh yeah, if only I could get my finances, in the same shape that I got the hospitals. And his facial expression is like, I'm not sure. Like, he didn't say it, but he had that expression. And then when he goes and talks to the lady, and when he actually, okay, when he reads the note, and you just see his face expressions changing from when he's like smiling and being friendly to her, and then he's like realizes what she's writing, and it's just like the sadness and the anger, and especially that anger when he meets up with them and he bashes his head up against the window. It's just like his there was no words, but his face was just dead on, beautifully well, whatever. It was amazing.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, let's talk about Will Smith for a second. I mean, for the entirety of his career, I think he's been spectacular. I don't know of anything that he's done poorly.
Well, the beginning of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, he was pretty, mediocre.
He was raw. I wouldn't say he was mediocre. Because, remember, he wasn't a trained actor. He just went and started doing this.
Yeah.
He did rap.
Yeah, he was a rapper. He was always a performer, but I think the performer side of him was just in his nature.
Well, actually, even going into that for a second, he's one of the only rappers really around who don't need to ghettoize themselves, to express themselves.
Although most people would not really consider Will Smith a rapper at all
right,
anymore, and they barely considered him one when he was popular.
So, I mean, he's always portrayed himself not only in his roles that he does characters, but even in life in general. Like he's overall like just a great person. Like you don't hear a whole bunch of crap about him in the media. It's you just don't hear it.
He's just a decent human being.
Yeah.
Well,
that's why they called him Fresh, because he was so nice and so polite and so nice, and that was the they used to call him like Fresh and Prince, because whatever.
Well, I believe that a lot of what makes him so good at what he does is that he is just a genuinely good person, and that comes through. And the dedication that he puts into some of these things, like movies that I think I generally would not have liked that he's been in, that I would have that I have liked, are like Ali. I wasn't terribly interested in the story behind Muhammad Ali, and I think he did a phenomenal job in that picture. Even though a lot of people didn't like it.
I think that's the only movie of his that I have not seen.
And
I think the people that didn't like Ali, it wasn't his performance, but it was too many different things. Like, you could tell there was like 5 different, like, either directors or writers, and that's what they didn't like. It wasn't his performance. It was the way it was put together. So you can still love Ali or still love Will Smith in Ali and not like Ali.
But I mean, just he's such a genuinely, when we see Will Smith in front of the camera, I believe we're seeing Will Smith, um, even though he's playing a character. I don't see, like, I'd like to see him play like a genuinely evil person, just to see what it looks like.
That would be quite interesting.
Yeah, like I don't even know. I'm sure he could pull it off because I mean, like I said, he's a phenomenal actor. But it would be just so different to see him in that kind of role. Um,
You know what would be really good? If you thought he was a good person in the beginning, and at the end you find out he's evil, because he has that sort of. It's kind of like if you did that with Morgan Freeman. Like you expect him to be, the good guy. So when you find
Although
out he's
we have
not,
seen Morgan Freeman play a bad guy.
okay, but it's still surprising.
Okay, let's talk about Rosario Dawson. Have you guys seen her in many films?
No.
If I did, I didn't recognize her.
One of the ones that people seem to recognize her from, which I think is kind of funny, is Jay and Silent.
Okay, you cut out there for a minute. You just said Clerks 2?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
And but I mean, she's been in quite a few films, and she's a very real person in her roles. I've never seen her cast as someone that is a very different person from what she is. So I think Gabriel Muccino, in going through these characters when he was looking for people, he was actually looking for people that fit the characters that that he was portraying, and not people that could portray the characters. Like there was something in them.
I didn't even realize that she was in Sin City.
I didn't know that either because I really did not like Sin City. I don't think I've seen the whole movie, but I mean, she was actually in quite a few films. And now that you've said that, I'm probably gonna have to watch it because I can't imagine whatever character she played in Sin City, excuse me, is like the kind of person that she is. So that might be something I might find interesting. But overall, the cast that he put together, you talked about his brother, which is Michael Ealy. I've seen him in different things where he's played radically different characters. So I can kind of judge like, okay, he's acting here, whereas Will Smith and Rosario Dawson both, I tend to see, and it's really funny that I'm saying this because this tends to be a complaint of mine in a lot of other movies, is where they're the same person in each role.
Like Larry the Cable Guy.
Larry the Cable Guy, or the guy that everybody likes that I don't.
Jim Carrey.
Yes.
I'd have to disagree with Will Smith because I mean he's done things that aren't always the same. I mean, like in Bad Boys, he's not the same character that he is in a lot of other things.
I'm not saying he's the same character. I'm saying the same personalities come through. I even in Bad Boys, even in Independence Day, which I didn't terribly like, and I even complained about Will Smith being a pilot. I didn't see him in that role, but in the personality traits, I believe what I was seeing was Will Smith coming through. And it's just kind of, I mean, I'm a fan, so maybe I'm biased. I don't know, but it's just a way of doing things. The way his mannerisms, his intent, like I believe that he really takes these things to heart when he's portraying the role. So it adds something special to it for me. So what do you guys think about just the movie itself, like not the story or the acting, but like just the locations, the way it was filmed?
I thought it was beautiful. It was like it was a dark beautiful. Like it was there was so much where it was just very smooth and easy and almost like relaxing in a sad sort of way, and I loved it. And like I even loved like certain, like the phone conversation when she called him in the hospital and he walked to the hospital, like that, like maybe not quite so dark, but the idea of that conversation and the way they spoke to each other, and just like I want that, when in the picture behind you, I'll bring up Jose's picture right there, like where they're in the in a field with a tree behind him, sitting in like the nice autumn, grass, and just having a nice small conversation. It's like I like those sort of moments and that sort of thing. And it's like I thought it's like, oh, that's beautiful, and it's like it'd be nice to that to occur.
Well, I mean, there was other things too, like when he was helping Emily, weed her garden and stuff like that. It,
The terrible apology, yeah.
yeah. Well, the way the way it was directed, all the locations were, I think, very well thought out, and planned to kind of semi distract you from the portions of the movie, especially if you were catching on to what was going to happen. Uh, so it kind of, I guess, maybe helped you feel better about it. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to really explain that, but I like I said, I mean, I thought the locations were like just very well thought out, and the way the shots were done were phenomenal as well. Just the camera work, the way they just I don't know. It was very simplified almost.
Well, it's funny that you should put it the way that you did because at Dante's suggestion, I watched the movie again with a commentary, and the location manager, the effort they put into finding some of these locations was crazy. I mean, not just from the amount of work that they put into it, but the overall. I mean, this woman really threw her soul into finding just the locations that they were going to shoot in. The beach house, right? She actually went out of her way to find a house that not only expressed the character, but that they had never been shot in before. So if somebody had filmed a movie in a house, that house was off the table. So they actually got in a helicopter and just flew up and down the coast, and then marked the houses that they wanted to check out, and then went door to door.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not remember that.
And that was just for one location.
Yeah.
They talked about that field in the picture behind me. That was actually scripted for a park, and she just didn't feel that the park setting was right, and she went just kind of driving through the country looking for places like this, and they came across that field.
It works better than a park, I think.
So just from the standpoint of the way that the film was put together, I want to say mechanically, and that's not the word I'm looking for, the process that they went through. They really put a lot into a lot of themselves, not just the actors, the cast, the producers, put a lot of themselves into the making of this film, which is why I think it's so effective. I was actually poking around on Twitter today, and I did a search for 7 pounds, and
Just today.
Just today, yes. And one of the things that I saw was that it was consistently the saddest movie I've ever seen, the saddest movie I've ever seen, the saddest movie I've ever seen. And while, yeah, I can see the sadness in it, I think it's actually quite an uplifting film that somebody, although the circumstances weren't, a very happy circumstances, that somebody was willing to do that. Somebody was willing to go through those lengths to help people and to make things right. And one might say that this character was disturbed because of the lengths that he was going through. But, he literally gave of himself. He literally gave life to people that otherwise would not have had life. And ultimately, he gave his heart to Emily, which I think is a just wonderful metaphor for how much he loved her, how he fell in love with her.
Well, yeah, he giving, when you would marry someone or you fall in love, you give your heart to them. I mean, he just did it literally.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the scenes that I really enjoyed, and maybe it's just because of my interests, was where he was fixing the printing press for her.
The window press.
Focus, yeah, the focus and the attention that he put into getting this thing working, I think was a real expression of love. I think that really came through in that scene. And then, it's not like he ran out and said, "Hey, look what I did for you." He waited, I think it wasn't until they had dinner together that he showed her that he had fixed her.
And that was not necessarily like a day or two later, because she had actually said, like, I tried to call you a couple times. She said I was out traveling. So it was probably like a week or so before that even happened. So
Right.
it was definitely some time passage going on there.
And and even outside of just Emily, I mean, he wanted to feel for everything that he was doing. Like, for example, like with the bone marrow, he didn't use any anesthesia. He just, stick a needle in me and take it out. They did
He
nothing.
wanted the pain.
Yeah, he wanted the pain. He wanted to feel everything that was involved.
And I think that's where the fact that he was disturbed comes in. Yeah, I mean, no one can argue that that's a rational thought, And I'm not even sure in the real world that a doctor would perform that procedure on someone that was not willing to accept anesthesia for it.
Sure.
Anesthesia? I think I said that right. Because that is considered one of the most painful procedures out there. So the fact that he wanted to feel the pain would have made a doctor go, oh, something's wrong with you.
And not to mention, like, you probably can't stay still while I'm shoving this really big needle in your spine. So, I mean, I don't know. That seems like it'd be dangerous for the procedure itself to actually not have the anesthesia.
Right. All right, well, I think it's pretty clear that...
Hold on. There's one last thing I was thinking. The dog, right? Emily's dog. She explained the reason for having him. It's like, oh, dogs have heart problems too, and I wanted to have somebody near me that I could take care of instead of, everyone taking care of me. And I actually thought that was a very interesting thing, and that people, I think, actually do that with other people in their lives too. And I actually thought that was like surprisingly deep, whether it was meant to be or not, just the way people do that. So I just thought I'd mention that while we were still here.
Well, one thing, it was not that dogs have heart problems. It's that Great Danes specifically have heart problems.
Right, and that's why she chose that dog.
Right, and I think that is a parallelism on how wounded Will Smith is, whether she knows it or not. That she's getting to help him heal his wounds, and so she's in a sense taking care of him while he's also taking care of her. So I think overall we all agree it's a pretty good film. Definitely, if you have not seen it and you've seen this show, you're done. Just don't even bother. Because it's...
You can still watch it, and it is still very sad. I mean, like I said,
it's a very different viewing experience, and that's coming from firsthand here. I wish I had not done that to myself, because I think I really would have enjoyed that film on a different level otherwise. So we're going to go ahead and bring this one to a close. You guys have any final thoughts?
I don't think so. Basically,
if you haven't, but if you haven't watched it, be prepared for a very deeply emotional movie.
And also, if you haven't watched it, I'm mad you didn't pause this and watch it first. I warned you in the beginning. But anyway, but yeah, definitely awesome movie, and yeah, just see it.
All right, let's go ahead and get our next movie selected.
I didn't have to go anywhere for this time. Let's see. What's coming out? Anything? Am I doing? Oh, all right. I don't know where that went, so I'm gonna get another one. Hey, they're flying everywhere. All right. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
So, Brandon, how did you spend your day?
Breaking my fingernail in half, moving a hot tub.
All right. Here I am. Rock me like a hurricane. So, what do we have here? Can you see that? Is it clear for you guys yet?
B14?
That is correct. B14. So, and let's see. 14. All right. 16. 14. And looks like we got a little streak coming on. Maybe more than one.
Sweet. I really, really like that movie.
I have
And
not,
I don't, so I'm glad I'm not part of it.
You
I
said you
have
hadn't
not-
seen it?
I have not seen it.
Dude, I enjoyed the hell out of this film. As a matter of fact, we should probably set aside a night and have you come over here and watch it.
Okay.
Because it's, without saying too much, it's pretty much a mind fuck. It's a very, very unusual film, and Ewan McGregor does a great job in it. So yeah, I'm definitely going to look forward to talking about that one. Yeah, Ewan McGregor's in it. He's the lead character. So on that note, we're going to go ahead and knock this one out. On behalf of Dante and Brandon, that's a wrap. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Or if you want to follow along with our antics when we're not in front of the camera, you can check us out on our social media pages on Facebook, Google+, or Twitter by searching for the M Cluster. Or you can leave comments in the field below. Or you can send us an email or give us a call. Heck, you can even write us a letter. Or you could buy us dinner. Or you could buy us a car. That would be awesome. Or you could send us on vacation. Or get us an Emmy. Ooh, a Tony. If you could get us a Tony, that would